In this fourth of our four-part video series on how to introduce community-based learning and research into your curriculum, we introduce you to designing approaches for student assessment. Here we will ask you to think about what you believe success will look like if you do include a community-based research or community-based learning activity. How do you think students could demonstrate their achievement of these learning outcomes? Does this require a different form of assessment for your module, or could an existing assessment be revised? There are a number of decisions you need to think about. What type of strategy will you apply? What techniques will you use? How many? How should elements be weighted? For each assessment technique, it's important to consider the criteria you will use. Will this element be graded or not? What are the criteria for community engagement? Name who should be involved in assessment. Can you bring in the CSO to support this process or peers? Should the work be individually assessed or as a group? How will you get the student to reflect on the experience? Here is an example of a very useful assessment strategy from IT Tralee. Note what percentages were allocated to the 4 elements for assessment. Here the lecturer has asked the student to use a reflective journal to flex their analytical skills. Also, students are asked to publicly present and test their communication skills. Activity. Now reflect on your original idea. What do you think are the key considerations for learning outcomes and assessment? We are moving on to the final piece of the jigsaw, evaluating your own activity, program or module. This is a very important way to do business. Effective evaluation to check that your project or activity has achieved what it set out to can often form the basis of scholarly outputs such as conference presentations or publications. Remember that evaluation needs to be built in when the project is about to begin in order to establish the perspectives of students and community partners before and after the community-based learning or community-based research activity. The setting up of an advisory board, including a CSO, is very useful to make sure you are addressing the needs of all parties involved. It is crucial to introduce some form of mechanism to capture and apply feedback and recommendations from the community partner in outcomes. Many like to host an event within the community or within the college to consult and support further networking. It's a good idea to host this within a month of completion if possible, so information is fresh for evaluating the process, positives and challenges. A good time to do this is when the exams are out of the way and students can relax. Involve all your stakeholders, including the president, community, civic partners, students, press, policymakers. In addition, you should look to get feedback from the students. Here you can use a separate online survey, asking them to reflect on practice, plus the level or type of learning experienced. Of course, don't forget to take time to reflect on your own experience, what worked, what didn't, and how might you improve or build on the programme. Don't forget that besides all the qualitative information that you gather in post-project interviews, the quantitative data from academic marks and the number of students progressing is core to assessing and evaluating the initiative over the years.